About 1.5 years ago, I started working on a video on the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and whether it's compatible with Catholic values. And while I started working on it, I realized that it would take multiple videos in order to address it properly. And as often happens, I got diverted by other subjects and never even did the video. More recently, I decided to do some videos on the liberalism of Cardinal John Henry Newman. Since these topics are related, I'm going to do a much larger playlist that we'll call Liberalism and Cardinal Newman. We recently had a poll on this channel, and the viewers here already have a good handle on the issue of liberalism, but for people who stumble upon this channel, it's probably a good idea to do some background. Otherwise, if I say, for example, that Cardinal Newman supported free thought, most people will think, well, what's wrong with that? So first we'll lay the foundation of discussing what liberalism is, and then we'll explain why the Church opposes it, and then we'll build on that foundation. The Church formally opposes liberalism. Pope Pius IX condemned the proposition that the Roman Pontiff should reconcile himself and come to terms with progress, liberalism, and modern civilization. In this playlist, we'll discuss classical liberalism. Nowadays, people toss around the words liberal and conservative, but what's considered liberal now is much more radical than even classical liberalism. And that's because all the initial goals of classical liberalism have been achieved and implemented in most countries. As Dr. Stewart told us in his interview on this channel, once liberals get what they want, they then demand new things. As most of you know, the French Revolution was a liberal revolution to overthrow the established order. But before the French Revolution, there was the American Revolution, which was fought for many of the same reasons. The Declaration of Independence was a reflection of classical liberal values. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty is the key word, and it's disputed whether certain liberties are rights. The slogan of the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror was liberty, equality, and fraternity. The Declaration of Independence continues that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And this is a drastic departure from Catholic teaching that tells us that governments derive their powers by the grace of God through the Catholic Church. And the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So, the United States was established as a liberal republic. The Republican Party postures itself as being conservative, yet the Republican Party, as well as every other major political party in the history of the United States, defends the basic so-called freedoms of classical liberalism. As viewer Nikolai Bukhankov wrote, I think that the very name conservative should die these days of ours. For being a traditionalist is quite a mile from being a toothless, spineless conservative. I should also add up front that in these days of the abuses by Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, it does make a difference who is doing the censoring, and I'll address that in a future video. So, in future videos on this playlist, we'll discuss why the Church opposes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the right of people to assemble. We'll also discuss other liberal errors condemned in Pope Pius IX's syllabus of errors, and finally, we'll do a deep dive into the writing of Cardinal Newman and how it was infected by liberal thought. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again within a week with another one. But in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page and my Twitter page. Every day I post additional content that you won't find on this YouTube channel. And also, please pray for the Church.